Hi, folks. We're going to go over your third set of practice problems for genetics, and this is with probability. So this is going to help us break down some of those problems into easier bite-sized pieces. For example, if we have a question that says, in humans, curly hair is dominant over straight hair. So you might want to make a big C for curly and a little c for straight, or you could use an A, big A for curly, little a for straight. It is completely up to you. I used a C. A woman who is heterozygous, remember heterozygous means different, so that would be big C, little c, marries a man with straight hair. So if he has straight hair, which is recessive, the only way we will see that is if he is little c, little c. So the genotype, remember, that's your genes represented by letters of mom, if she's heterozygous, would be big C, little c. What gametes can she produce? So these come from her alleles. Remember, those are different forms of a gene. Those are your different letters. So she can produce a big C or a little c. So we can get either from her to pass down to the offspring. The father, again, since he is homozygous recessive, little c, little c. What gametes can he produce? He can only pass down that little c allele. What is the probability that the first child will have curly hair? So when you do probability, you want to draw a Punnett square. So we would cross the mother, big C, little c, by the father, little c, little c. And when you do that, you get half big C, little c, and half little c, little c. So probability, 1/2 for curly, and probability for second, 1/2 curly. Second, we want to list all the gametes that are possible with each of the following genotypes. So big A, little b, little b. We can get big A, little b, or we can get little a, little b. Since we do not have a big B, you will not see any gametes with a big B. Same thing here. Big A, big B, big B. We can get big A, big B, or little a, big B. Since we do not have a little b, we will not see any gametes with that little b. Our heterozygote individual, for both traits, big A, big B, little b, we'll see all 4 possible genotypes. We can have a big A, big B, big A, little b, little a, big B, or little a, little b, just like we did in foil for our dihybrid crosses. Big A, big B, little b, we can only get big A, big B, or big A, little b. We can't get any little a's. And then our homozygous individuals, we can only have one option. We only have a big A allele here and a little b allele here. So we can only get big A, little b. Same with F. We can only get little a and little b. We're going to use the examples from above to get the probability of getting the gamete little a, little b from each of the following parents. Big A, little b, little b. The probability we'll get a little a, and a little b is 1/2. Little a, little b, 1/2. Big A, big B, little b. Up here, probability 1 out of 4 or 25%. Since we don't have a little a here or here, the probability is 0. We do not have these alleles in the parents, so they will not show up in the offspring. All right, 4 is a difficult question that you might see on the exam. In a certain strain of mice, black coat is dominant over white coat. So big B is our black coat and little b is our white coat. Describe what you would do to determine the genotype of a male with a black coat and how this would enable you to choose between the genotypes big B, or big B, little b. If you remember, anytime you display that dominant trait, it just means you have to have that big B allele. So you could be homozygous dominant, or you could be heterozygous, which always displays the dominant trait. So what you would do is a test cross. So it's kind of like we saw up above with the probability. You would test cross with a purebred, little b, little b. If we get no white offspring, we know that we don't have the heterozygote individual. But if we do, we know we have that heterozygous, because remember, if we don't have that letter in the parents, we won't see it in the offspring. All right, so again, we're just looking at probability. Anytime you see probability with any of these genetics questions, it means you will do a Punnett square. So if your parents have genotypes big A, little a, you're going to then do a cross. So big A, little a by big A, little a, just like we saw previously. And they want to know the probability of getting the offspring big A, little a. If you remember that cross from the previous practice problems, we would get 50% big A, little a, 25% big A, and 25% little a. Here, when we cross a heterozygote with homozygous recessive, we'll always get 50% heterozygous. The next three, you would do the FOIL with the dihybrid square to figure out homozygous dominant for both traits. We saw 1 out of 8 or 2 out of 16 when we FOILed in practice problems 1. Here, if we want a little b, and a little a, that is not possible due to our FOIL, right? So we can't get little a, because we can only get a big A allele from this. So that's why this probability is 0. 6, if an offspring has the genotype big A, little a, so it's a heterozygote individual, what possible combinations of parental genotypes could have produced this? So which parents could have produced big A, little a? Remember, you get one allele from mom and one allele from dad. So if we have big A, and little a, we could get a big A allele from this individual and a little a allele from this individual. Big A, little a, we could get a big A from this individual, a little a from this individual, so on for the next two. All right, question 7 is again just practicing with our FOIL. Remember F for first, outside, inside, and last. So our first, if we're crossing them, is the first of those letters. The outside for both, the inside for both, and the last for both. And 8. In humans, the allele for albinism is recessive to normal pigmentation. If 2 heterozygous parents have children, what is the chance the child will be albino? Remember, with that heterozygote cross, we will always see the 1:2:1 ratio. And so albino is recessive. That would be both little letters, so 25% or 1/4. If the child is normal, what is the chance that it is a carrier for that albino allele? Remember, carrier means heterozygous. If normal parents have an albino child, what is the probability their next child will be normal for pigment? And that would be 3 out of 4. So remember, that's a 1:2:1 ratio. All right, folks, stay tuned for practice problems 4 with pedigrees.